everyone. Looks like the waiting room is streaming in as we speak, so I'll give it a moment before we get going here. But I am Benjamin Lindsay, Managing Editor at Backstage. We're very happy to have you joining us today. I'm sitting with Laura Thede from DDO Talent Agency, and we're going to have an interview here, take audience questions throughout the conversation. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it into the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. I'll be taking a look at those throughout our chat. And otherwise, just sit back and get ready to pick Laura's brain a little bit. We're very excited to have her here. Laura, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to sit with us. How about you take a moment just to introduce yourself and what you're all about over at DDO?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited. I'm Laura Thede, and I am a partner and oversee the youth division at DDO Artists Agency in Los Angeles. I work in the LA office. We do have offices in Chicago and in New York. I started in casting. I was a casting assistant. That was my first paid job in the industry, although I did, internships like everybody does. And then I did I was a commercial casting assistant, and then I did a Disney pilot under a casting director named Harriet Greenspan, who is a phenomenal kids casting director. I mean, she does a little bit of everything, but primarily known for kids and young adult projects. And then I started at DDO 7 years ago or so.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that. Just in the brief reading that I did prior to this conversation, I saw that you originally kind of got your roots in casting, just with the internships and kind of going from there. So what was that transition like for you from casting to being a talent agent? Was it always kind of the goal to get to where you are, or kind of feeling it out along the way?
Yeah, I was definitely feeling it out along the way. I always tell people that had the cards not landed how they did, I definitely could have still been in casting to this day, because I did fall in love with casting and kids and young adults when I was working with Harriet. I adored what I was doing. I loved every second of it. It was so exciting to me. I loved being in the room. Sometimes I got to be in the room reading with the actors. Sometimes I was setting up the schedule for the next day and taking the pitches from the agents, which was a really good learning experience for me. And so, yeah, I kind of got to do a little bit of everything with Harriet, and that, it was such a blast. And that's when I really fell in love with watching actors, and specifically younger adults and children. And really the only reason why I got out of casting was because we did a pilot and our pilot didn't get picked up. So I was basically just out of a job. And at the time I was, still pretty fresh out of college, so much student loan debt. Like, I could not afford to not be working. I was trying to get another casting job, and I interviewed for a few others. I was also trying to wait for Harriet to get another project to start on her next project. She was very sweet in that she wanted me to continue on with her, and I really did want to continue on with her too, but it came down to just, I couldn't afford it. I was broke. I was starving. I was like working my other side jobs, like waitressing, bartending, everything on the side while I was doing that. And yeah, eventually I just was like, I can't take, I don't want to be an independent contractor. I couldn't afford to be an independent contractor. And so that's when I kind of started thinking about moving to the agency side, because I felt like maybe that would be a happy medium for me, where I would at least have a home base and some kind of consistency, but I really still wanted to work with kids and young adults. And so that's kind of what led me to DDO. And luckily, like, it was just right time and right place in the universe where I was able to move up and start a youth division at DDO. But yeah, that's kind of how I got out of casting and into becoming an agent. But I will say that now that I've, been doing this, I think it was totally meant to be. For me, I do get really attached to the clients, and I love having the long-term relationship with the actors versus when I was in casting and we cast the pilot, I was so attached to the project and the actors that we cast, that when it was like, okay, casting's job's done, you guys pack up, and you're working out of a lot, and you pack up your office and you leave, and it's just like the show goes, or the pilot goes on without you. You don't stay for while the pilot films. Like casting is just like, okay, casting's done. And I remember that feeling of just being like, wait, what? We are like, but what about the show? Like I was so I do love that on the agency side, there's kids that I've repped for years and I've got to see them grow up. And that's what I love about being an agent, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And what is it about working with kids and teens in particular, and actors of that age group? What excites you most about that, and why does that especially align with what you want to be doing?
Yeah, I think I've always loved kids my whole life, but there's something about kid actors and young actors that there a lot of times, not always, of course, but a lot of times they tend to be like more raw. It's like there's when you see a young kid who really wants to be an actor, and a lot of times they just don't have the insecurities yet that start to come with age, and so they're not overthinking it. They're just really in the moment, and they're fearless. Like kids can be fearless. They don't, they haven't learned those insecurities that unfortunately we start to learn in our teenage years and then through our, adult years, which can kind of prohibit actors,
Mm-hmm.
So that part of it, a lot of times with kids is just not there. And so watching that is like, there's just something magical about it. When you can see that without those barriers, without the ego, without the insecurities, it's just like it's just a magical thing to watch when kids are acting, I think. Obviously, of course, it comes with all kinds of separate, complications of its own when you work with children as opposed to adults. But I do love watching young actors, especially.
Yeah, yeah. And my take on it is, I mean, that's kind of what acting is all about, the breaking down of the ego. And if those insecurities aren't there to begin with, then
yeah, and the
you're
other
more
part
tapped into it. Yeah.
Yeah, is that like what I find is, kids, they don't have bills yet, right? So they're not thinking, I want to become rich and famous. I need to make this money. They're like, no, I just love this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really love about it too, is like when you find kids that really want to do it, there's such a genuineness about it. It's not like a fame thing or a money thing. It's that they just enjoy the craft of it. So
Yeah.
I love that too.
Well, aside from the fact that you work with kids and teens, how would you describe your roster? Like how many actors are you working with on any given day? Just what's it look like a day in the life of that?
Yeah, I mean, our roster really ranges. It's actually super diverse, which we are, we're very proud of, and we're constantly trying to make it even more so. But for me, I primarily work day to day on TV film.
Mm-hmm.
There's two other agents in the division, Bree Curtis and Alicia Beekman. Alicia works on TV film with me, and then she also does voiceover. And then Bree works on commercial and print. And so for me, who is focusing on TV film on a day-to-day basis, I usually am not signing anyone under 6. That's when kids can really start working a full workday legally. And then also that's when they can start to really carry a scene and memorize and get into character and all that kind of stuff. So there's not very many TV film roles for kids under 6. So that's where I kind of start to look. And then my roster, as far as there is really no hard cutoff. We don't have like a hard cutoff. It's just a feeling, and it's just an age range that you play.
Mm-hmm.
If your essence is like you are still playing high school, then it doesn't matter what your biological age is. So we actually have our oldest client, I think, on our roster is actually biologically 30, but absolutely plays so young, like plays high school, college, cannot play 30 to save his life. I remember one time I pitched him for a 25-year-old role, and casting was like, he does not play old enough to look 25. And I'm just laughing, thinking like, if they only knew, he's actually 30. So we don't have a cutoff. It's just what is best for the actor, because in his case, if he was with an adult division just because he was over 18, he would actually be at a disservice, because he can't play those roles. Clearly casting doesn't even believe that he's 25. Sometimes when we book him, the casting director asks us for his work permit and asks us like, okay, what's his parents' name that's going to bring him to set? So people are still even thinking he's like 16. So he really does have to be within a division like ours where we're focusing on the younger, you know, kids and young adults. So that's why I try to say like kids and young adults, because I do go up into the like the high school roles and the college roles, the CW shows, all of that. We're still working on and we are still tracking. But as soon as someone starts to like really play 30 or up, or they're playing like young mom or young dad, that's definitely something that they would go off into the adult division.
Gotcha. Okay. That kind of falls in line with one of our audience questions that we got written in beforehand. Backstage reader Hannah Ganzert. She says, I was wondering for teenagers around 17 who are currently in that odd limbo between children's division and adults, would adult divisions be willing to meet with them, assuming they liked their work? So the way that you're talking about it is that someone older can work in the children's division if that's what feels natural. Does it go both ways?
I think it definitely goes both ways. I think every agency has their own way that they do it. So this is just what we do at DDO. We kind of, you know, it's very fluid and we don't have hard cutoffs. It's just really what's best for the actors. We also sometimes have actors where they are really on the cusp and we will actually share them with the adult department. So we will both work on their behalf. And the adult division would kind of really focus on those older, you know, 25 and up roles, and we would focus on below that. So we've done that before as well. But yeah, if you are, you know, younger, but you actually play older, then the same thing. It's more about what you play than your biological age. So that's how I would kind of look at it if I was an actor, of realistically, what do I play, and then go for the division that will best represent you. And I think if you don't know what you play, just literally take a survey of your friends, like ask everyone you know, ask 20 people, what age do I look? And then kind of take that average, and that's probably pretty safe to say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, how is it that you typically find new talent for people who are either interested in working with you and getting in touch on their own, or when you're going out into the world finding actors that you want to represent? What does that process look like?
Yeah, so we do a lot of stuff. We obviously you know, these crazy times that we are in, we did do a lot of in-person scouting where we went to you know, final showcases and performances of acting schools and all of that good stuff, and theater and you know, sketch comedy and that kind of stuff. But right now we have still been taking submissions. We are still doing Zoom meetings every week to meet new clients. We've always had an open submission policy where anyone can submit to us, and all of our submission instructions are on our website, and everything for us is just via email, and we check those every single day. So we're, you know, we are actually looking at them, and for me, I think electronically submitting is much better than like snail mail. I still do check my snail mail, but not nearly as often. So I would recommend definitely email submissions. But we're always taking, you know, referrals. We take a lot of referral meetings from managers. But we're kind of always on the lookout. We have even found people like on social media, stuff like that. So we do try to keep an active eye out as well all the time.
Good to know. Yeah. And I mean, as you mentioned at the top of that response, it is pretty extraordinary times that we're living in right now. You're not going out into the world as much to find new talent.
Exactly.
We did get a lot of questions just about how actors can be proactive during this time. Liam Bibby asks, I wanted to ask, how do you think COVID-19 is going to affect the industry in the immediate and foreseeable future? And how can upcoming actors establish themselves in these times? So do you have any tips on how to really make the most of a bad situation?
Yeah, I mean, I have actually been very pleasantly surprised and shocked with how much our industry has kind of come together through this. You know, there has been so many casting directors that have started doing free stuff through social media, like education. The education that has come out of this, I think, is huge. And if you can really make a lot of stuff happen during this time if you want. And you put your mind to it. But a lot of stuff is happening on social media. There's a lot of casting directors that were doing open calls through social media. They were doing monologue contests through social media. They were doing free Instagram live Q&As through social media, Zoom meetings, all kinds of stuff. So I really have been proud and really grateful for all of the casting, everyone in casting who has really gone above and beyond to do a lot of stuff just out of the goodness of their heart during this time for actors. And just like this, for example, is actually perfect. Like everyone who's watching this right now, you're doing something that's proactive. And so that is exactly what you need to be doing. And all the videos that you guys have been doing like this, if you're an actor and you're watching all of these, there's so much you can learn and so much you can take away from. And you really can meet casting right now because they are doing so many things like this. You can build a relationship virtually. It's crazy, but that's the time that we're in. And it is possible to have conversations with casting through Instagram lives and Zooms and all of these kind of things that maybe you really couldn't before, because it's a lot easier to be closed door, when we were back how we were before than it is right now, where people are kind of open to doing all of these things from home. So yeah, I think, all the people that are watching, you're already doing, you are a step in the right direction. You're doing something proactive for your career today by watching this video. And I would just keep an eye out on all of those kinds of things. And do those contests, reach out to casting through social media if they are having an open dialogue like that. And then you really can start new relationships during this time. I think as far as the future, I do think this is going to be a new normal for the foreseeable future. So really learning how to work Zoom and learning how to self-tape from home and making sure that you're up on all of that technology is going to be huge, because if you don't know how to do that stuff, you are going to be left in the dust, because I don't think that they're going to be doing in-person callbacks anytime soon. This just could be the new normal where your callback is a Zoom with the director. So you want to just get comfortable, practice it, know what you're doing, so that, you're ready for this kind of new wave of like some new normal that we have.
Totally. And especially in times like this, it is about those cumulative steps in the right direction. Take control of what you can and kind of hone in on that, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, when you are making connections today and just kind of in general with actors, and you decide to set up a meeting, you're impressed with their reel, you're impressed with whatever it is that gets them in the room with you. How can an actor best prepare for that opportunity? What do they need to bring? What makes a good impression in that meeting? What are you kind of looking for?
Yeah, I think we tell people who we're meeting with like exactly what we want them to prepare. But if someone doesn't, I would always err on the side of caution and have something prepared to perform. I do find it interesting if we take a meeting and we're like, okay, do you have a scene or a monologue? And they're like, oh no. Well, then obviously that's what we need to see. We want to see you act. So I would always have something prepared to do, always have a monologue in your back pocket or a scene that you are very comfortable with, you feel like shows you're acting well, just in case, no matter what, just always have that. And then I think it's really good to research who you're meeting with. That is one of my favorite things when someone comes on a Zoom with me and is like, hey, I Googled you, I researched, like I realized you're from Colorado. That's really cool. My cousin's from Colorado, and whatever. It doesn't even have to be personal facts about me, but research DDO. I love when someone says like, yeah, we looked at your website, we looked at the Instagram, we love your, XYZ, we love your mission statement. Anything that shows that you actually took some time to do your research is very something that really stands out to us, because unfortunately it doesn't happen that often. You'd be surprised. So I think do your own research on who you're meeting with always, and come in with a few questions of your own. Really take that meeting for you as well and ask the questions that you need to know for yourself, and then just be yourself, really just be relaxed, kind of breathe into it, engage in the conversation. A lot of it is we're just trying to get a sense of the person, of your essence of who you are. So you don't have to, when you're not performing in a scene or a monologue, just be you. We are just trying to get to know the person too.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you mentioned that something that helps you stand out is just coming in prepared and knowledgeable on who you're meeting with. Um,
Yeah.
we that falls in line with a question that we got from, let's see, Paula Para Infantes, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. Paula, thank you for joining us today. She asked, I wanted to know how you can figure out which agent works best for you and what to look for in an agent. I feel like so much of this process isn't just the agent looking for the right talent, the talent wants to find the right agent for them. So do you have any insight to that end?
Yeah, 100%. It kind of goes back to just doing your due diligence. You have to really research. And there's so much, almost everything is online now. I mean, everything. You can literally look up on IMDb, you can find anyone's roster, you can look up, every agent at every company. I don't think there is an agency out there that doesn't have a website. Almost every single one has a website and tells you the divisions and what they work on and the agents that work there. And then really social media has become a professional tool. I mean, you can
Mm-hmm.
use LinkedIn too, but look people up on Instagram. I mean, look and see, and you can kind of try to get a vibe from there, and you can at least know what they work on and what they do. It's shocking to me how many submissions I get. Like, I will get a random, submission from a 50-year-old man, and I'm like, if you even Googled me at all, like, you would know that I can't represent you. That's not the department I work in.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that happens a lot. And so you don't want to just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks. Like, just make a target list is what I tell actors. Like, do your research, make a target list, ask around your other actor friends, who are they with, and then look at their agency, see if it might be an agency that you're interested in, ask them about their experience with that agency. You can ask around, and then also do a ton of research online. There's so much information online. And again, if someone even Googles me, there's so many of these like interviews that I've done and podcasts that I've done. So they could really get a good sense of me if they wanted to, because there's so much information on me out there. And that really goes for every agent. So you could get a lot of stuff done by doing your research. And then I would say make a short target list of like your top 5 that you really feel like these people are someone that you would want to be represented by. Look up their specific submission instructions, and then go out to that, really target like a shorter list.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And in terms of that search for an agent, we also got so many questions in from our international audience and for readers who aren't based in Los Angeles. I know DDO has Chicago, New York, LA offices. But what's your policy or stance on signing talent that isn't based in the major hubs? Is that a possibility with DDO? What's kind of the general practice to that end?
Yeah, that's a great question. So absolutely, especially in our division, we sign kids from all over the country. We have kids that live in Arizona. We have kids that live in Cincinnati. We have kids that live everywhere, because it really is possible now with technology that you self-tape your auditions. And it does take a level of commitment. You have to be committed to flying out here if you book something, or coming out if you have a big callback that is necessary that you come to in person. But especially during these times, everything is going to be virtual for a while. So
Mm-hmm.
it is very easy for you to do it out of state. We never tell people they have to move to LA anymore to do this, especially with kids and young adults. All of the projects, the series regular roles that are searching for young talent, they really do a nationwide search. Like, they will, if you're the right person for the role and you're the best for that role, they will travel you out here. You will get a relocation fee. Like, part will be taken care of. They are doing a nationwide search because they really want to find the right person for the role. So yeah, we have a ton of out-of-state clients, actually. And then as far as international, we are absolutely open to international actors as well. It's a little bit tougher because you do need, that O1 visa to be able to work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have one, though, we absolutely basically sign you just like any other client. And something to get an O1 visa, managers, there's a lot of managers out there that are really great and have done the process a lot and will help and will sponsor. And so that is a good first step for an actor, that is looking, and then usually their manager can help them start the visa process and then help them find an agency. But yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, just a couple more questions for you. I know we're coming up on the half hour here. I'm going to go to audience member Kelly Erickson. a lot of agencies ask for cover letters. So she is asking, selected agencies ask for a cover letter in their submission process. What specific points do you recommend addressing in a client's cover letter?
Yeah, that's a great question. We always like appreciate a cover letter. Ours are email, so you just have to have some kind of intro in your email with your materials in the email as well. But just quick, short and sweet. Don't make it, I would say, a paragraph or less. Introducing yourself, and then if you do have any credits or any, whatever your experience level is, you definitely want to put that in there. Think of it as like a paragraph highlight bio. You want to throw out like the major points and any great experience you have in that quick little intro while just kind of introducing yourself. So don't overthink it. It doesn't need to be like an essay about why you want to be represented. It can just really be a quick intro about yourself, your experience, and kind of that can pretty much be it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, before we wrap up, I'd love to give you the chance to shout out a client that you're particularly proud of recently. And is anyone on your roster booking work and doing exciting things right now?
Oh, this is hard. I have so many. I have a couple. Okay, well, the first person that came to mind, this doesn't have to do with booking, but I'm very, very proud of our client, Jasmine Williams, because I know she's in this right now. I saw her hop in here like first and right. And I just want to say that Jasmine has been so proactive during this time. And she has been truly a shining example of like, this is what you should be doing. And this is all the work that she's been putting in during this downtime is going to take her so far when things start to pick back up. She has been on every like casting interview that we've done, every Instagram live that we've done, every informative thing that she could have done during this time on her own. She has done it. And it's just, to me, that is such a great example of her work ethic, and that will take you so far. So I want to just have to shout Jasmine out for just A++ effort during these times. And really staying engaged. And I do think she has really built momentum and relationships with casting from everything that she's been doing during this time. So,
Excellent.
And then, yeah, as far as working, we have a client that is shooting a lead role in a movie right now in Utah, and is going through the whole process of being tested every week.
Wow,
And
right.
all of stuff, her and her mom, and they had to drive there because it was safer than flying, and they kind of really had to go through the whole craziness of what the new Corona COVID proof sets are. And it's a lot. And so shout out to them for killing it out there.
Awesome, awesome. Well, yeah, a special shout out to Jasmine. Thanks for joining us today. And Laura, especially thank you to you. This has been such an insightful half hour. Glad to see that you're taking care of business and things are moving along despite the crazy times you're living in. So stay well, and thanks for your time.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We will be in touch with future opportunities like this. Just check out backstage.com/magazine for the latest. And I'm Benjamin Lindsay. We'll see you next time.
Bye.